Hey guys, so today I'm going to show you how I learned to memorize a deck of cards in under 5 minutes. Now, memorizing itself, the process will take under 5 minutes. Putting it all together and testing yourself usually takes me about twice as long. But either way, I went from not knowing how to do this to doing this in under 5 minutes. And today I'm going to show you how. Okay, so for your initial setup, you're going to have 2 decks of cards. A spreadsheet would help, and it would be possible with a piece of paper, but I suggest you go ahead and use a spreadsheet because it'll help us practice later on. So what you're gonna do when you get your spreadsheet is you're gonna make 2 columns. One will just be the suit of the card, so it'll be hearts, spades, diamonds, or clubs. And then the other column, you're going to put the various cards in them. So you have A, K, Q, J, and then 10 through 2. Now the hard part is getting your cards created. Now what we're going to want to do is to create a person action object for every single card. And so if you don't know what that means, I can take the Ace of Spades for example. So my person, I actually use Sora from Kingdom Hearts because I really like the series. And he is sealing a keyhole, so he'll be holding his hand out like this and he'll have his keyblade in his hand. And the object is the keyblade itself. Now it also helps if you use categories based on each suit of the card. That way if you're ever struggling to get it memorized, you'll be able to lean back on knowing what a certain suit is. So my examples, hearts are people that are close to you or people that you like. Spades for me were all video game and anime characters, stuff like that. Diamonds are generally celebrities or rich people, and then spades were athletes. But you can really pick anything you want for any of the categories. To me, those kind of things help. So there's a system within a system within a system, because not only do you have the system of person, action, object, and within that you're going to have suits and they have their own category, but each card kind of has its own little subcategory. So for example, for me, I use aces. They're prominent figures. So think of it's almost usually the first person that comes to mind when you think of that category. Those kind of things tend to help me. And to give you some examples, the Ace of Hearts is a mentor of mine. We've talked about the Ace of Spades. That's Sora from Kingdom Hearts. I use Elon Musk for the Ace of Diamonds. He's one of the first people I think of when I think of rich people. And then the Ace of Clubs is Nick Saban, a prominent football coach. Now with kings, I try to keep those limited to men only. So they are still men that are high prominence in all your various categories. Queens, again, some prominent women in your categories. Jacks, I tend to think of as men that are sidekicks or, second fiddles, but still rather prominent in their respective categories. Now for the rest of them, I kind of associate a letter with the numbers, and it's kind of a derivative of the major system. I think it closely follows it, but it's not perfect. So for tens or zeros, I use S and Z somewhat interchangeably. For nines, I use N, so I would pick people in those categories that again fit the category whose name starts with N. Eights are M's, because it's like a little M if you turn it sideways and cut it in half. Sevens are K's. Sixes are G's. Fives, F or V. Fours are R. I think the R at the end of 4. Threes are W's, because if you turn it the other way, it's W. And then twos are T's. And for your person, action, object for each card, it doesn't have to make logical sense. Like for example, my Ace of Diamonds is Elon Musk flipping a Dogecoin, and I think of like I know it's a cryptocurrency, but I just think of an actual coin that looks like a Dogecoin and he's flipping it. And that will help you memorize it. You can be kind of rude and crass with the images you come up with, because really they just need to be images that are, I want to say, almost somewhat shocking to you. Whatever will stay in your mind. Okay, then step 3, once you've got all of those and your cards are listed out in a spreadsheet, we're gonna pick some memory palaces. And I recommend you at least have 2. That way you can rotate them out every other day. The more you have though, the better, but you need to make it a place you know pretty well. And within that place, you need to make sure it's big enough to have 18 spaces, individual spaces, preferably that don't have a lot of visual overlap. But as long as you can come up with 18 places, that's fine. For example, I have a bit of an open concept, like living room, kitchen, dining room, but I still choose my dining room table on top of my kitchen counter, on top of the mini fridge, you know, things like that. They're in close physical relation, but in my head they're separate enough to where they work for my memory palace. So once you have those places and you have those cards, we're still not ready yet, but we're almost there. What you're going to want to do is get really good at recalling from the cards. So I suggest you learn them in pairs. Maybe just start with aces and then learn kings and queens, jacks and tens, so on and so forth. But really try not to learn more than 4 groups at one time, especially when you start out. And it's perfectly fine if you just learn aces, then kings, and then put it together. And then learn queens and put it together. Then learn jacks and put it together. In fact, towards the end of it, that's more about how I learned when I was learning to recall from the cards. And if you followed the spreadsheet advice from earlier, that's where it comes in handy, because you can just sort your spreadsheet or filter your spreadsheet by the current cards you're working on, and then you can drill the cards with the spreadsheet. So what you should do is take them out, shuffle them up, and drill yourself for 5 to 15 minutes, then give it a break. I haven't really drilled myself for more than an hour in any given day, and it was pretty much split up for 30 minutes at a time maximum. Especially with the drilling the cards, I feel like the spaced repetition helps more than a long consistent session, but whatever works for you might be different. And when you can drill a whole group 3 times in a row without mistakes, I would say you're ready to move forward. I tend to have a rule of 3s when I practice something. If I can do it perfect 3 times, then that means I've got it. And when you can recall your person, action, object for the whole deck 3 times without a mistake, I'd say you're ready to move on to the real deal. Now, the practice routine doesn't change too much. It's just you keep practicing until you hit the desired time. For me, it was under 5 minutes. So now what you're gonna wanna do is take 2 decks. You will shuffle one of them. And then you'll take the other deck and sort it. So I like to sort it at least by suit. I don't get more granular than that, but you can sort it completely by suit and then in an ordered row. And now what you're going to want to do is start your timer. Then you will take 3 cards at one time, like this. And then what you're going to want to do is think of your person, action, and object for each of those. You will put that image into one entity, and then you will place it somewhere in your memory palace. And to give you an example of that, I'll take this trio right here. So this would be J.K. Rowling sitting cross-legged, because this is Goku from Dragon Ball Z sitting cross-legged on a flying nimbus on a Dogecoin. So I take that image and I place her at my mailbox, because that's the very first piece of my memory palace. And you just keep doing that for every trio of cards. You'll get down to 1 card left, and you just have to remember that one person. Then, ta-da, you're done. Stop the timer. I like to stack the cards up, you preserve their order. And then what you want to do is take your unshuffled deck and put it in the correct order. Stack it back up. And then I like to sit both the decks down and just flip over one card at a time from each deck. And if you want, you can time your reconstruction. I like to just to notice that, hey, it takes me twice as long to put it back together as it does to actually memorize it. But for that process, again, just either get a different timer or write down your initial time with that, and then count your reconstruction time. And you're going to want to keep track of your mistakes, at least I did. You're really aiming for no mistakes, so go as slow as you need to get it with no mistakes on your recall. Now, there was some point where I wasn't really pushing the boundaries of how fast I could remember this, because I would take multiple passes through a card, and then I'd take multiple passes to the palace. If you get to that point, I suggest you start focusing on speed. Very rarely did I actually ever make any mistakes, and you'll be surprised how easy it is to recall when you start putting it together. And that's another tip for reconstruction. I didn't actually start from the beginning of the deck always. It would be very nice if I could just right before I was able to finish my timing, go back and look at the thing at the front of the deck as a quick refresher, because those were the hardest to recall. But a lot of times what would happen is I would just build whatever the first thing I could remember was, and then go from there. And you'll be surprised at how easily your memory fills in the blanks. But either way, you did it. I hope you have gotten the time that you wanted. I personally haven't gotten under 4 minutes. So if you did that, kudos to you. You got me beat, and you should go teach someone else how to do this. Of course, if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below and I should be able to get to them. Anyway, guys, I hope you found it helpful. And if you want to see my latest video, click here. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.